The hardest part of networking is getting started. But the second hardest part, well, that's a little different. And today I'm going to share with you how to get past that second hardest part of networking. I'm Greg, I'm the Introverted Networker, and I realize that a lot of times I talk about how to get started networking. In fact, my course, 5 Steps to Growing Your Professional Network, is all about getting started networking. It's about what to do if you don't know anybody or you don't know where to start, how to get started, how to make connections with people, how to start to get your networking momentum going. And once you get started, then the question is, how do you keep going? How do you sustain the networking momentum? Because networking isn't something you can just do for a week and then hope that it's going to pay off. You can do it for a week. There's nothing wrong with that, but you're not going to really grow your network if you only do the steps I talk about in my course and don't do them consistently over time. And I understand it's hard. It is hard to do things consistently over time. It is hard to continue to reach out to people. It's hard to have conversations. It's hard to figure out how to keep giving to people. It's hard to keep telling people what you're looking for. And it's tough to make this a habit. And that's why the 5th step in my course is making all of this a habit. That is the 5th step. That is the key to continuing your networking momentum. So today I want to talk a little bit about some things you can do to sustain that momentum. I'll tell you some things I do because, look, I'm going to admit it. I'm the person that talks about networking, and even I struggle from time to time because, let's face it, life is busy. There's a lot going on. You probably have a job. I have a job. You may have a family. You may have friends, a social life. You may have organizations you're a part of. It's a lot going on. You can't just network all the time. And so how do you find time for it? How do you fit it in? How do you keep it going? How do you keep going when maybe you're not getting a lot of responses? Because again, I'll go back to where I started. If you don't keep doing this stuff, if you don't take these actions on a consistent basis, you're not going to grow your network. And all this effort will have been for nothing. Now, I think any connections you make are going to be helpful. I think any networking you do is better than no networking. You don't have to have this going full blast, this process going 100% of the time. You can dial it up, dial it down. I think what's important is you don't get frustrated or you don't get discouraged with any of it, and you find ways to keep going. So what can you do about it? So let's assume that you watched my course, you started with who you know, you connected with them online, you got to have an in-person, in real life conversation with them, either voice to voice or in person. You had a great conversation, you listened to the other person, you heard what they're working on, you found ways to give to them. And of course they said, how can I help you? And you were very specific and said, here's who I'd like to be introduced to. And they give you an introduction and you start all over again. And you've been doing that, and you're in various stages of that process with different people, but you're just getting busy. Work got busy. You don't feel like you're doing your outreach. You don't feel like you're having conversations. You don't feel like you're helping people out. You're getting a little bit discouraged. You're like, how do I keep this going? And I'll tell you what I do. This is what I do, because I, again, admit that this happens to me quite a bit. And when I'm starting to feel like I'm not networking or my networking isn't at the level I want it to be at, I go through a couple things, a couple thought processes, and I want to share those with you. Maybe those will help you out. The first thing I think about is I remind myself why I'm even doing this. Why am I networking? Why do I want to connect with people? Why do I want to grow my professional network? For me, I know from experience, as I talk to people and I stay in touch with people, they will get back in touch with me and opportunities will come my way. I've seen that. Just the simple act of reaching out to people and reminding them that I'm out there in the world and what I'm doing has led people to say, I want you to come do a presentation on networking. I want you to come talk to this class on networking. I want you to do this seminar. or I want you to talk to this person, or this person's interested in, some sort of, maybe it's a business opportunity. Those things always happen. And I also have other things like job or business opportunities that just come because I'm out there posting and talking about stuff all the time. But just from my networking and conversations, I see opportunities come my way. That's part of why I do this. I'm trying to create, and some people refer to this as increasing your luck surface area. So increasing the surface area that luck can find you. And when you're networking, that's a good way to increase that surface area, because people are reminded that you're out there. People think of you when opportunities come up and they're thinking, who can I talk to about this? If you've been in touch with them most recently and you are somehow connected to that opportunity, they're going to think of you and reach out to you. I know that helps me in every part of my life. This is just like one part of my life. If I'm thinking about my physical health, my diet, my exercise, my fitness routine, my training, my jujitsu training, which is where I got this. So if you're wondering, does he have a black eye? Yes, I have a black eye. It's from jujitsu. Not a striking sport if you're not familiar with it, but I just caught an unlucky elbow. But those are all things I like to do in order to keep myself healthy. But in order to keep me, I'll say, socially healthy, I want to continue to have connections and conversations with people. So the first thing I do when I'm struggling is go back to, why am I doing this? And for you, it might be you're looking for a new job, or you're looking for a new business opportunity. Whatever it is, remind yourself why you started networking in the first place. And make it part of your identity. Make it part of who you are. This is maybe not a separate thing, but whenever you're thinking about how to continue to do stuff, if you say if you want to be into running, say I'm a runner. If you want to be into public speaking, say I'm a speaker. If you want to be a writer and publish stuff, say I'm a writer. Like, say who you are. Say I'm a networker. I'm doing this because I'm a networker, and networker is who I want to be. It's who I want people to think of when they think of networking. They think of me. So, make it part of your identity. Remind yourself why you're doing it. So that's kind of the first thing. That's really two things, but we'll put them together. I think the other one is make your actions smaller. I have a list of people that I try to keep up with on a regular basis. And it's a pretty long list. I don't get together with people all the time. By the time I'm through my list or follow up with people, it's been a few months. And sometimes it can get overwhelming to look at that and think, oh, I need to follow up with this person or that person. And if I ever get that overwhelming feeling, I just think to myself, how can I make this smaller? How can I make this something that's easier to do? Because whenever you think, I have to get in touch with 10 people, that's often overwhelming. And you feel like, I can't get in touch with 10 people this week. I got too many things going on. So if you say, I'm going to get in touch with this one person today, just one person. I'm going to send one message, one email, one text message. That's it. Just one. Just do one. Usually when I start, after I get the first one done, I feel like, I could do another one. And I'll like get a few more messages out, or I'll have a few more follow-ups, or I'll schedule a few more conversations. But make your actions smaller. When you're struggling, when you can't keep going, when you're running into barriers, get smaller. Get smaller with what you're trying to do, and let yourself do that. It's okay if you only do one thing a day, so long as you show up and you do it each day after that. So go ahead and make your actions smaller. I think the other thing that's number two. So again, recap. Number one, why are you doing this? Is it a part of who you are? And if it's part of who you are, remind yourself who you want to be, and make it a part of your identity. Number two is get smaller. Get smaller with your actions whenever you run into struggles. I think the third one is, if you don't network for a couple days, or you don't do something for a week, give yourself a break. Give yourself a break. I know we're trying to be consistent here, but acknowledge that sometimes life's going to get in the way, and that's okay. That's okay if life gets in the way. Be graceful with yourself. Let yourself go, okay, I didn't, really do what I wanted to do with networking. And the second part of this, I'm going to get started again. So give yourself a break if you miss a day, but the second part of that rule is don't miss 2 days in a row. This is a common thing you'll see, whether it's, again, fitness, exercise, anything you want to do consistently, writing. If you miss a day, don't miss 2 days in a row. I was in a writing challenge. It's 30-day writing challenge, Ship 30 for 30. Nick Cole and Dickie Bush's program. If you're into writing, I would highly recommend that one. But when we started out, the goal was to write 30 pieces and publish 30 essays in 30 days. And they said, it's okay, you're going to miss a day, but don't miss twice. So get back out there, and if you miss a day of connecting with somebody, or you miss a week or something, if you're trying to do this by week, make sure you do it the next week, but don't miss twice. Right? Get those small actions going consistently so that you can continue to reach out to people, keep the conversations going, and make sure that your network keeps growing. I think so. That's number 3. And the last one is focus on what you're going to be giving to people, not on what you're going to get. So, we talked about why you're networking. Do you want to find opportunities? Do you want to find a job? All those are things you want to get. But if you're struggling to do it, think about what you're giving to the world. I know that when I'm networking and I'm finding ways to help people, it makes me feel so good. It makes me feel so good to help other people. Helping other people out and seeing the reaction when you help people makes me feel accomplished. And so if I know that I'm helping someone else in the process, it's a little bit easier for me to get motivated to do it. If it's for me, even though I've maybe reminded myself of why I'm doing it or what I want to get out of it, if I'm thinking that somebody else's success is on the line, it motivates me a little bit more to get started and get going again. And I don't know if that's me or if that applies to everybody, but I do know if I'm thinking to myself, you've got to help other people, or there's other people depending on you, I'm likely to get going and keep going. For myself, maybe I neglect myself a little bit. Maybe I let myself slide and say, well, your success or those opportunities for you aren't as important as if you're helping somebody else. So really break it down into those 4 things. Why are you doing this? Get smaller. Give yourself some grace. Give yourself a break, but don't miss twice. And think about what you're giving to other people. And if you're holding yourself accountable, showing up for other people and trying to help other people out, it'll help you keep going. So those are some things that I do to keep going on my network whenever I feel like I've kind of let it go and I'm not taking action. Like I said, that's probably the second hardest part of networking. The first part is just getting started. I can give you all sorts of ideas of how to get started, but those are some ideas of how to keep going. Hopefully that helps you out. I would love to hear what you think. If it's helpful to you, let me know. If it's not helpful, or if you're still struggling with something else, give me a shout. You can leave a comment on this episode. You can subscribe to the podcast. By the way, the podcast is now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I found a way to connect it. It's awesome. I'm so excited that I'm on those platforms now. So you can now listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts if you have those apps, maybe a little bit easier for a lot of people to access. The newsletter, please subscribe to that and follow me on LinkedIn. So give that a shot. If you're struggling this week, try to use a couple of those mindset shifts to get going again. Let me know how it works. Go out, meet some interesting people. Remember, always be connecting.